So what is Azure Virtual Network? Azure Virtual Network is a logical isolated network in the Microsoft Azure. It allows to Azure resources such as virtual machines, database, and app services securely communicate with each other, the internet and the on-premises network. It is similar to the VPC in the AWS. It is similar to VPC in the AWS. Okay. Okay. So it is nothing but a software defined network which is created with Azure itself. Okay. So like you have an on-premises network to deploy our resources, we have an on-premises network at there. Same thing here, this is the Azure Virtual Network is a software defined network. When you creating the virtual network, you must define the IP address range of the CADR. Okay. So when you create virtual network, you need to specify the IP address range. For example, if you take a IP address range 10.0.0.16, so what does mean 16? 16 stands for CADR value. With that, 16 stands for what here? 16 stands for
CADR.
CADR value. So what does mean CADR value? Classless internet domain routing. It is nothing but a numerical representation of the subnet mask. Numerical representation of the subnet mask. Okay. So here, when you take 16, what does it mean? 16 here /16. Total IPv4 range, total bits are there. IPv4 32 bits are there. How many bits are there? 32 bits. This means /16 means 16 network bits. Okay, 16 network bits. That is 32 minus 16, 16 host bits. Mean that 2 power 16 is equal to how many IP addresses are there? 65,535. 536. What is /24? /24 means total bits are 32 in IPv4. So 32 minus 24, how many bits are left? 8 bits left. That is, if you have 2 power 8, that is 256. Okay. How many IP addresses are there? 256. I think I had explained clearly in the VPC section. What is the subnet mask? What is the subnet mask of
Yes.
class A? What is the subnet mask of class A?
Sorry, what is the subnet mask of what?
What is the subnet mask of class A? Class A IP address.
Second.
255.0.0.0.0. What is the subnet mask for class B IP address? 255.255.255.0.0. What is the subnet mask for class C? 255.255.255.0.
255.
Don't remember anything. Okay. Just go to CMD and type epiconfig.
Oh, class A is 255.0.0.0, then 255.255.0.0, and then class C
So
would be
now this is the
255.
class C is what? 255 dot. This is the class C.
255. Yeah,
255.255.255.0. Means
that's
thus
zero. Class
having
C.
a, what is the subnet mask value here? /24. Why it is
Plus
slash
24.
24? Number of network bits. Here 8 bits. Here 8 bits. Here 8 bits. How many bits are there? /24. What does mean /24? 24 network bits minus 32 means house bits are only 8 bits. Okay? Only 8 bits.
8 bits.
So when you create a virtual network to deploy our web application, we need to separate. Like suppose when you're creating a web application, there are multiple things are there in the web application. One is the front end part. Second one is it's nothing but a web server part. And second one is the application end. And third one is the DB subnet. Okay. In AWS also we created a multi-tier architecture. So what is the multi-tier architecture? Where we create inside the VPC, we created one public subnet and another one is the private subnet. Inside the public subnet, we're going to deploy the front end subnet. It means nothing but we're going to deploy the web servers, the web server. Whereas in the inside the backend subnet is nothing but private subnet. We're going to deploy the database. Okay. So why you need to keep this database private? Because of if you keep database in the public, then there's a fair amount of chance that Hackers could directly attack and they will steal there will be data breach will be there and they will steal the data. To avoid the situation, generally the database will be kept in the private subnet. Private subnet. Okay. So what is the difference between public subnet and private subnet? Kamral? Hello? So what is the difference between public subnet and private subnet? Public subnet is nothing but it is connected to internet. Private subnet, we don't have internet. Okay. So it won't be directly
Sorry,
connected. Yes, yes,
can you hear me?
yes, yes.
Yeah, I was talking, but it wasn't going through.
Okay, no problem.
Uh, the private subnet is not connected to internet, and the public is connected to internet. Private subnet we normally use for database and stuff like that, and public for internet access.
Same thing here also. Okay.
Yeah,
Generally,
yeah.
private subnet not directly connected to internet. It connect to internet through NAT gateway or VPN gateway. Okay, to NAT gateway. So what does NAT gateway? It will provide outbound connection only. It won't provide inbound connection. Whereas when you connect NAT gateway through internet gateway, it will provide the direct connection and it will have inbound connection, outbound connection. Okay. Understood? So this virtual network again divided into multiple subnet. Why? Because if you segregate, then it is easy. Okay, if you don't segregate, then will be it is very difficult to. Instead of that, this virtual network will be segregated into multiple parts. Like one is a web subnet, another is the app subnet, and another one is the DB subnet. Okay. So another thing is there. I told you that in AWS, every IP address range, if you take any network, there will be two IP addresses will be excluded. One is the network address, second one is the broadcast address. Is that? One is the network address and the second one is what? Broadcast address.
Broadcast.
And again Azure, again 2 plus 3 means that again it will add like 3 IP addresses, it will exclude. Why? It will exclude total 5 number of IP addresses to internally communicate each other. In a network, how they internally communicate? With the help of the network address and broadcast address. And also Azure will take 3, 2 plus 3. In AWS also same thing. 5 addresses will be excluded. Okay, any network, 5 addresses will be excluded in the Azure, AWS and Google Cloud. Same thing. Okay? Understand?
Mhm.
So what is the network security group? So we have a security group in the AWS. We have a security group in the AWS.
AWS, yeah.
Here we have a network security group. Okay, what is the network security group? In generally in AWS there are two types are there. One is the security groups, second one is the NACL, network access control list. This security group will provide the security at the virtual machine level, whereas NAC will provide the security at the virtual network level. I want to provide the security. I want to provide the security at network level. I will go for the NACL, network access control list. Whereas you want to provide the security at virtual machine level, go for the security group. Here also in Azure also have a security group is there. The security group here, okay, this is known as the network security group. Okay. So in AWS it is known as the security group. Here we know the Azure network security group. This Azure network security group control inbound outbound traffic. They can apply it at the subnet level, also DIC level. Okay. So this NSG, okay, can be applied at the NIC level at the subnet level. If you apply the NIC level, is nothing but we can security have only for particular resource only. I can apply for the at virtual machine level at the subnet level. Okay. When you apply the security at the subnet level, all the port numbers, suppose you have blocked in subnet level port number 80 and all ports will be blocked. Ports will be blocked. Okay. Okay. Here in AWS, we need to create the routes, but Azure, you don't need to create a route. Automatically, route will be created. Okay. Do you remember that in AWS VPC, we created a what? We created a routing table. We need created internet gateway. Then after that, we attached the routing table with the which one? Internet gateway. But we don't need to create here. It will automatically create it. Which one? Azure. Okay.
Mhm.
Understood? You don't need to create.
Yes.
It automatically created. Now, we'll go into the Azure portal. We want to create a Azure virtual network. It is very easy compared to the AWS. AWS, we need to create a virtual network. Again, we need to create a subnet. We need to create a routing table. Then we need to create internet gateway. Then we need to attach the internet gateway with the routing table. Then subnet will be attached with the routing table. But you don't need to do here. You don't need to do here. Here easily you can create in a single step. Okay, in Azure. Okay, just we need to define only the IP address range only. IP address range only. Okay. So one account, another account, how will be segregated with the help of the virtual network? With help of the virtual network. So this will create a logical separation of resources, one account to other account, with the help of the Azure virtual network. The same thing in the AWS also. The same thing in the AWS also. Now we're going to create a Azure virtual network. Azure virtual network. Here what happens here in AWS, there is one default virtual network is already created, that is the default VPC. Okay. Then AWS, one default VPC will be there. A default VPC is there. And whenever you don't need to create a VPC, whenever you want to deploy a VPC, whenever you want to deploy a resource like EC2 or any resource like, it will pick the automatic default VPC. Inside the default VPC, EC2 will be created. But in Azure, you don't have any default VPC. In Azure, you don't have any default VPC. Understood? You don't have any virtual network. In AWS, it is that default VPC will be there, default network will be there. But you don't have here. We need to create. Okay. Whenever you create a virtual machine, automatically virtual network will be created. Okay. So, okay. Either we can create a virtual network, or else if you create a virtual machine, then automatically Azure will pick up and it will create a virtual network. Whenever we delete the virtual machine, the virtual network also deleted. When your receives group is deleted, so the virtual machine along with the virtual network also deleted. There is no separate virtual network is there in Azure. Whereas in AWS, we have a separate default virtual network is there, that is called default VPC. Understand?
Yes.
You don't have any default virtual network here. We need to create. If you don't, if you're not created, then if you create any virtual machine, automatically one virtual network, default virtual network will be created by the Azure itself. Whenever you delete resource group and default virtual network, the virtual network also deleted. Whereas in AWS, it is not possible to delete the virtual default VPC. If you delete the default VPC, you won't able to create EC2 in AWS. Now, to create a virtual network here, first we need to create a resource group. Here click on create. Just give the name here, VMnet -RG. Click on review create. Now virtual resource group is created. To create any resource in Azure, it is to mandate to create first resource group, except to create user only. When you create a users in the Azure Enter ID, you don't need to create any resource group. Remaining all, we need to create a resource group is mandatory. Now create a resource group. Then we're going to create a virtual network. Go to the search bar, type virtual network. So this is the virtual network. So inside this, when you go walk through this virtual network, there are multiple things are there. You can check here. We have a virtual network. We have a NAT gateway. We have a public IP address, network interfaces, network security group, application security group, bastions, route tables, and a route server. We're going to discuss one by one. Okay, we're going to discuss one by one in upcoming classes. Now here, I just open the virtual network. You have an option in there, create. Just click on the create here also and here also. Just click on the create. And You have a resource group. Select the resource group which you want to create virtual network, and this is the virtual network name. I want to give the virtual network name as a VM network. VM network. Okay. Then there is an option is there, security. In this one, whether we need to provide encryption for the virtual network, we can provide the Azure encryption also. Okay, everything will be encrypted. Okay, another thing is Azure Bast is there, Azure Firewall. We will discuss what is Bast here in upcoming classes. No issue. And we have a IP address is there. We have a IP address is there. Okay, so you can check here whenever you want to create a virtual network, the IP address is automatically picked by the Azure itself. Azure itself. This is the IP address range, that is the 10.0.0/16 value, and this is the subnet. What is the subnet is there? 10.0.0.0/24. Okay, whether you want to edit, you can edit here also. To edit here, there is an option is there. Click here. There is option is there. Here there is pen sign is there. Just click on edit subnet. Click on the edit subnet. Now, there is a subnet purpose is there. In which purpose you want to create a subnet? Whether I want to create Azure Bastion, whether I want to create a Azure firewall, whether I want to create a firewall management, whether I want to create virtual network gateway, whether I want to create a route server. Now, I don't want to select anything. I just keep as default, and subnet name I'll just give as a VM subnet -1. Okay, and this is the range. What is the range here? 10.0.0.16 is the total IP address range, and 10.0.0.16 range. What is the subnet I want to pick here? /24. We have how many IP addresses? 256.
256.
When you pick here 25, 128. So what is the last? 29. What is the last? 29. Okay, understood. Whether I want to
Yeah,
change the IP address here, you can change also. So here just remove here. I'll make it as 1. Okay.
one. Yeah.
Now, this is the subnet range 10.0.0/16, and we have a subnet is 10.0.1.0/24 is the subnet range. Now, just click on the review and create. Just click on the review and create. That's it. You don't need to do create like in AWS is somewhat complicated. In AWS, we need to create route table. You need to create like an internet gateway. You need to attach with each other subnet. Subnet you need to attach with the route table. Again, the internet gateway is attached with the route table. You don't need to do here. Just simply just add the name and just select the IP address only. That's it. Okay. It is very easy in Azure. Okay. Compared to VPC, this Azure Virtual Network is more effective. Okay. Effective. So now create a which one? Virtual network. If you want to deploy any resource, you can deploy at the, you can deploy inside the which one? You can deploy inside the customized virtual network, which we created, which we created. Now the virtual network is created. Now what? Virtual network is created. So now how can you deploy the resource? Whether I want to deploy the storage, Azure storage account, whether I want to create a disk, whether I want to create a virtual machine. Now we're going to deploy the resource inside the our virtual network. Our virtual network. Here there is a virtual machine I want to deploy inside this customized virtual network. Just go to the virtual machine. Now click on create here. Click on virtual machine. Select the resource group.
Any name?
Just give the virtual machine name. Now just give the password instead of keep it. happen. Now, inbound ports, SSH port number 22 will be open. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Here, then go to the networking. Okay, you don't need any disk because we have discussed the disk. Go to the networking. If we don't go networking, we don't select virtual network, again it will create another default subnet. Instead of creating this virtual machine inside the virtual network, it will pick new one. It will create a new one. It will create inside that new virtual network, default virtual network. Okay, so that he need to go and check here the virtual network. Here you can check the virtual network. What is the virtual network? If you don't select virtual network, this virtual machine will be created with the Azure default subnet. Understand? Here which network we created? This is the virtual network, and this is the range and subnet range. Which is the subnet range here? You can check here. Subnet. This subnet, this subnet. Understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
And here we want to enable the public IP address. There is an option is there, enable public IP address. Whether you want to disable the public IP address, now there is an option is there, none. When I select the none, then it will become the private VM. Private VM. Okay. And we have a network security group is there. Network security group is nothing but like a firewall, like a security group in the AWS. Okay. So I just select a security group and just click on the review create. Just click on the review create. Now create a virtual machine inside the customized virtual network. Customize the virtual network. Okay. Customize the virtual network. Very easy here compared to AWS. Compare in AWS a little bit tricky. Okay, first we need to create IP address range, and we need to enter the IP address range manually also. But in Azure, everything will be picked automatically. Okay, just we need to add the IP address range only. We don't need to create any route table. Doesn't mean that we don't create any route table. That manual also we can create, but here we don't need to create. When you create in AWS, when you create AWS virtual network or VPC, we need to create a route table. We need to create internet gateway. Then we need to create subnet. After that, the route table need to attach or associate with the route table. Again, this route table will be attached with the which one is nothing but internet gateway, but you don't have to do here. Okay, everything Azure manage. Everything Azure manage. Now create a virtual machine. I deploy the virtual machine inside which network? The customized network which created by me. It's created by me. Okay, understand?
Yes.
Okay, now I just go to the resource here. This is the public IP address. Now I can check here the private IP address, the range which we have defined. What is the range we have given? 10.0.0.1.0. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
that will start with 10.0.1.0.
1.4.
Okay,
Yeah.
so why? Because 10.0.1.0 is the network address, 10.0.0 is the network address, and the last one 10.0.1.255 is the what? Is the broadcast address, and 10.0.1.1, 1.2, 1.3 the Azure will take for the internal communication. So total
Okay.
5 operators will be excluded. It will start from dot 4. Start
Dot
from
four.
dot
Dot
4.
four.
Okay, done. This is which one? I create a virtual machine and successfully deployed this virtual machine inside the new virtual network. New virtual network. Understand? Okay. Now, next thing is going to learn about the same thing in the here. Whenever we create, previously we create a virtual machine. Now we're going to know about the VM scale set. What is that? VM scale set. So what does mean VM scale set is nothing but a built-in scaling performance. What is that? Built-in scaling performance in organization, load balancing, batch management for 1 to 1000 VMs, no added cost, include multiple VM sizes, zones, ranges, and domains along with the discontinued spot VMs. Spot VMs. So what is the VMSS? What is my VMSS? Okay. So here what is my VMSS? We'll discuss in auto scaling. Okay. So what is my VMSS? It is nothing but auto scaling. It is nothing but a auto scaling. So what does mean auto scaling? What does mean auto scaling?
Automatically scales if you need more
Same here
resources or less.
in AWS, it is known as auto scaling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is also known as the auto scaling. Okay. So here there is an option is there VMSS scale set means it is nothing but a auto scaling. So whenever the traffic increases, when users are hitting more number of users hitting the web application, so this web application run inside the virtual machine. So we need to create more number of virtual machines. So it is very difficult to create manually the virtual machine when the traffic decrease. Then instead of creating manually, increasing the size of the virtual machine, then automatically increase the virtual machine, decrease the virtual machine with the help of the auto scaling. In Azure, it is known as the VMSS. In Azure, it is known as the VMSS. Understand? We'll discuss that. What is VMSS also? We can do the practical also. Here, that is the virtual machine is created. Which one? In the customized virtual network. Customize the virtual network. Understand? Then when you want to connect here, just go to the virtual machine. How will you connect here? Click on connect here. There are two options are there. One is the connect and connect via Bastion. This Bastion we're going to discuss. Now we're going to discuss the Bastion. Okay. This is a normal connect because our virtual machine have a public IP address. Through when you connect this one, it will directly connect to the public IP address. What happens when you want to connect the virtual machine having a you don't have a public IP address and this virtual machine is in the private. Then how will you connect? With the help of the Bastion, we're going to connect. With the help of the Bastion, we're going to connect. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
So now, what is the next thing we're going to learn about is the Azure Bastion. Brother? Azure Bastion.
Bastion.
So what is Azure Bastion? What is Azure Bastion? Sometimes we need to deploy the virtual machine completely securely. They mean that I don't want to give any IP address to the virtual machine. So when we don't have any virtual machine public IP address, then it is how will you how will you connect it? It is I don't think it will be connect. I want to connect to virtual machine, but this virtual machine doesn't have any public IP address. I want to connect a virtual machine, then it is mandated to have a either NAT gateway, either VPN gateway, either an internet gateway. So when you connect to the internet gateway or NAT gateway, then it will be exposed to public internet. Instead of that, Azure will provide the underlying hardware. With the help of the Azure underlying hardware, we are going to connect to the virtual machine. It's nothing but Azure Bastion. It's nothing but a Azure Bastion service. Azure Bastion
Bastion.
service. So in AWS, you don't have any Bastion service, separate Bastion service. Azure Bastion service is a
So,
platform-based
sir,
service.
the Bastion we deploy inside the VNet, right?
Yes, exactly, brother.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly. It's okay. So in AWS, how we created, we don't have any Bastion. Just explain in AWS. What
Yeah,
happened
So
in
we use
AWS?
Bastion host.
EC2.
You don't have
We
any.
use
You don't have
EC2.
any Bastion AWS.
Okay.
And I'd explained to we done the practical also in Bastion. There is no separate service there in AWS Bastion service, but Azure you have a Bastion service.
Okay.
Okay. What we did in the AWS, there is a VPC is there. If you do the practical, you can remember. If you don't do the practical, then we've done this okay, in AWS. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a VPC. Inside the VPC, we have a two subs. Is that to subnet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how many subnets are there? 2 subnet. Inside this
Public
subnet,
and private.
yes, one is the virtual machine, the public, another virtual machine is in the private. Okay, understand? Then this public subnet is connected to the internet
Internet.
gateway. Internet gateway. Huh?
Yeah.
Then from
Yes.
here, I want to connect my laptop. Okay, this is my laptop because I already connected to the internet. Now I can able to connect to the which one? Virtual machine. Okay, and this is the private network.
Yeah.
When we don't have any public APIs, that is not possible. It is not possible to connect from a laptop because this doesn't have any public APIs. Then how we connected? We connected from this public network virtual machine. We had taken the remote connection. Do you remember? Okay, so we had just passed the keys. Okay, we created a key and the key need to create here from the Azure, from the public network, one of the virtual machine. Okay, from the public network, one of the virtual machine, we are connected